Woo!
Yeah. I say yeah.
I got a Rolex.
Get my wrist, nigga. You better act like you know, nigga.
Hey y'all, this is All of Destiny. So in my last video, I showed you all how I bleached the knots on my lace closure, as well as how I tinted the actual lace using black tea to prepare my closure for actually making a wig. So in this video, I'll be showing you all how I'm constructing this wig and pretty much sewing it down onto a dome cap. So I'm starting off with the lace closure, and pretty much what I did, I pinned it down using just like little push pins, because I didn't have the actual pins that you're supposed to use, or I guess that actually are for making a wig. So I just use these instead to kind of hold the closure down for me while I'm sewing it. And what I do, I start off by sewing down the left side and the right side, so I'm kind of switching sides as I make my way to the back of the lace closure. That way it's kind of balanced out for me, instead of me sewing down the left side all the way, like starting on the left side and going all the way around the closure. It kind of, for me, it doesn't work out too well, because last time I made a wig it was kind of shifted. So I like to do it this way, and this is actually only my third time making a wig, so I guess this is kind of very beginner friendly, since I'm a beginner in making wigs and stuff like that. But I pretty much just pull the lace closure kind of tight as I'm sewing it down, and I'm making sure not to go through the elastic, and I'm just kind of just sewing it down pretty much until I'm done. And that's pretty much how I'm sewing down the lace closure. And when I'm done, I go ahead and I cut the end of the thread, and then I just tie it up a few times, and then I cut off the excess thread as close as I can so that it's not sticking up through the actual closure, and the closure is all complete. So starting off with the first bundle, the longest length that I have is 14 inches, because as you all know, I'm going to make this or cut this wig into a bob. So I'm starting off with the 14-inch bundle along the back, and I pretty much use the the little stick pins again to help me hold the hair in place while I sew it. The way I don't have to hold the hair and try to sew, because for one, I'm not that good of a sewer. As you see, I am kind of going fairly slow, but for me, just using the little push pins as well as my hands to help me hold it, it worked really well for me. And when I sewed it when I sewed it down the first time, because this is actually me after I'm going back the first time, so you didn't get to see where I was actually sewing it down the very first time towards the bottom of part of the cap. I did go through the actual weft to hold it down really tight onto the actual cap, and then I proceeded my way across. So while I'm still closer towards the bottom part of the cap, I'm making sure not to go through that elastic, only through the cap part. So when you put the needle through, I was kind of lifting it up to make sure that I'm not on the elastic, because that's what helps the cap to stretch. So if I go through that, I won't be able to stretch the cap to even put it onto my head. So as long as I'm near that elastic part, I'm making sure that I'm only going through the actual cap material and not really the elastic. When I get to each end piece, or each end of the part of the bundle, I make sure to actually go through the weft and then through the cap, and then I flip it over and do the same thing, so through the weft and through the cap again, to make sure that it's tight. It also helps each part of the ends to lay flat on the sides, so that it's not sticking out and looking too bulgy and big. And again, I'm making sure that I don't go through the actual elastic part or that thread part that you see, those two lines coming down the length of the cap. I make sure not to go through those as well. And occasionally as I'm sewing, I do kind of knot my thread to make sure that it's kind of a little more snug and tight. So on this 14-inch bundle, I didn't manage to make it to the other end, so I had to go ahead and stop where the end of the bundle ran out at. But I did make sure to go through the weft to sew that down very tightly. This next bundle is the 12-inch bundle, and I'm going to start off just sewing that one down where I left off at. So you'll see that after I finish unraveling the bundle. Okay, so since the 14-inch bundle did end kind of almost towards the end of the cap, but not really, I'm starting off with my 12-inch bundle where the 14-inch bundle stopped at, just so that it's, I'm just continuing along with sewing down the hair. And so since this is the beginning of a track, I did go through the weft and then through the cap, and I'm doing that a few times just to make sure that it's down and laying really flat, and I got as close as possible to the actual 14-inch bundle so that it's kind of seamless and everything is just laying together. So when I get to the end, I make sure to go through the weft as well, flip it over, and I continue the same thing. Pretty much it's just a tedious process as you make your way up to the lace closure. and I'm just following along with this same pattern, trying to get it as neat as possible. And also when I'm sewing through, I'm making sure that my me actually sewing it, you can see that the thread is fairly close together, so that when I'm brushing through the hair, it's not like the brush will get stuck through because of me sewing so far apart. And also it just helps everything to be a little more tight and seamless and just last longer overall, me making this wig. And also, I know y'all noticed that I have the actual wig head in my lap. For me, I don't have like the actual stand and everything like that. And so I'm just kind of holding the wig head in my lap as if it's, y'all know how you used to come and sit down and your mama do your hair and she'd be like, here, sit down on the floor in front of me. So you sit down and then your mama or whoever doing your hair is up and above you. That's pretty much what I'm doing with this. So I was looking close at the actual lace on the closure when I got closer to that part, and I saw these little lines on it, or not lines, like the holes on there, and I was like, I wonder if that's for some specific reason. And so for me, I had watched in one video where a girl, she actually left her lace on while she was sewing it down, and she used the lace for more structure and stability of laying her closure really flat. So I said, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna give that a try this time and see how that works out for me. So I kept the lace on there, and I'm actually sewing through those lines to help me to kind of pull the closure just a little more tight. I should have done that before, but it's whatever. So I go ahead and sew that down, and then I'm just tying it back down really nice and flat as well. Also, I want to apologize for the sound of my voice. I don't know if, like, for those of you that follow me on Instagram and Twitter, y'all saw yesterday that I posted that I wanted this video to go up on Wednesday, which was yesterday, but I'm actually not feeling well, and I'm still not feeling well, but I wanted to go ahead and still try to get this video out. So I do apologize for my voice and the lack of really good explanation in my voiceover. So yeah, I'm still not feeling too well, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this video out for you all anyway. So I just pretty much continue this process, just like I said, until you get to the lace closure. It's just really the same thing. The thread for me, sometimes it would get tangled up, but I would just, just work with it and get it untangled, and I would just continue the process. So I'm almost up close to the lace closure finally, and this took me about, I think, 3 hours to do. So that shows you about how slow I actually sew. And like I said, it's only my third time making a wig, but for those of you and my subscribers that actually wanted to see this, I wanted to show it for you all. And so sometimes I would just have to readjust the cap and everything just to get it to lay the way that I wanted it to. And then I just pretty much continue the same process. Sometimes when I would get to the corners and I'm trying to actually go through the weft and then through the bundle to make sure that it's laying flat, it would take me a while to get it through there, but I just kept working with it until I pretty much got it through the weft and then through the actual cap after I go back through. As far as the spacing of my actual tracks and how I'm laying the actual bundles, I would say that it's probably about a pinky amount of space. So if you take your pinky and kind of slide it up under the hair to where you can feel where the space is, that's about how much space I have between my tracks. So I try to sew as close as possible, for one, so that I could fit all the bundles in, and then for two, I wanted to make sure that when I actually put it on and pull the cap down on my head, that because it's probably going to spread apart a little bit, so I want to make sure that they're close enough together so where you can't really run your hand down and just feel like space and like, oh, that's the cap, it's not any tracks or bundles right there. So yeah, also I apologize for my terminology probably not being too correct. Like I said, this is only my third time making a wig. I don't really wear extensions or weave like a whole lot, and so for me it's kind of just like, let's give this a try. So I hope this video is actually helping someone out somewhere. Like I said, for beginners, maybe this will help you in a more beginner sense, since for me, I'm kind of a beginner at doing this, so it's kind of beginner to beginner. I see you, I got you, So yeah, just continue sewing until you make your way up to the top of the lace closure. And what I did for me, since this was kind of like my only third time doing this, and I was like, oh, it's so long, it's taking so long, I would like dedicate myself to saying, okay, I'm gonna make sure I don't take any breaks until I finish sewing like the whole bundle. Then I'll take a break to maybe get some water. I stopped to have ice cream in between after I sewed down the first 14-inch bundle, and then I just pretty much continued through because I said I'm dedicating myself to doing this like this whole day. I'm not gonna like stop. So just continue doing that. And then also, I didn't show this on camera, but I did go ahead and prep 3 needles and thread, and so it helps me to go a little quicker when I don't have to stop and prepare the thread each time. I could just reach for the next one, and then when those will run out, I will prepare all 3 of them, and then I can just continue on that way. And all of the items I did purchase at my local beauty supply store: the needle, the thread, the actual dome cap, and then those little push pins that you saw me using, that was just in the hardware drawer in the kitchen, so I just used that also since it was convenient and I had that laying around the house. I'm making sure also, I want to let you all know that you do see me holding the actual bundle with one hand and then sewing with the other hand. That's so I don't have any space or gaps in between, so I pull it all the way across and lay it flat before I start sewing it down. I don't know if I explained earlier or not, so if it was unclear why I kind of kept some of the lace on the closure, not just in the front but on the sides. Also, it just helped me to, when I was sewing the closure down, to be able to pull that and make sure that I got it as flat as possible. And when I'm sewing, when I get close to the front, I'm making sure to get as close to the end of the cap as possible. That way it won't look, you know, weird and awkward, like, oh, it's not any hair right there. So I make sure that I'm going all the way to the end of the actual cap, and again making sure that I don't go through the elastic, because the elastic does go all the way around the cap. So I make sure when I'm on the edges that I'm only going through the actual cap material, not the actual elastic, because the cap won't be able to stretch and I won't be able to fit it onto my head. So you can see that when I get to the end of the actual cap, when it's time for me to flip the track over, I didn't cut the track. I just actually sew through the weft and then through the actual cap material, flip it over, and then I do the same thing again, and I continue going back down and around the opposite direction. But when I'm sewing through all the way through the actual I just got all tongue tied. When I'm going all the way through, I make sure that I'm only really just going under the weft and through the cap. But when I get to each end, I'm going through the weft, under the cap, and then back through. But just make sure that you don't go through the elastic. I'm going to just let you all watch the rest of the video now, because my voiceover skills are just like blah today. So yes, I hope this is making sense also. Actually reached the closure, thank goodness. It only took so many hours. But when I get that close to the closure on this actual last part of the bundle, I'm making sure that I go under the weft, up under the closure where I sewed the closure down, to kind of attach them together so that it's seamless and all like one unit together, versus me just sewing it down near it. I'm actually going under the weft and up under the actual closure and then back through. And you can see, like I said again, the lace does get, not the lace, the actual thread kind of got tangled up on me, but I just untangled that, and then I finally finished. You can see how much track that I did have left. I just cut that off as close to where I finished. So I'm finally done at this point. I'm like super excited, happy. This is the hair after I shampooed and conditioned it, and I like brushed it out and let it air dry overnight. I did apply a little oil. All the hair specs and information about this hair will be in the info bar below, so click where it says show more below this video to see all of those good details that I typed there. Also, if you like this music, then definitely check out Lil Greg on all of his social sites here on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all of that for more music and to hear like the actual, you know, the real version without just the instrumental, okay? So be sure to leave all of your questions and comments down below. This is my only 3rd time making a wig, so let me know how y'all think I did on it also. And if y'all want to see more videos like this. Also, the video where I did bleach the knots on the closure and everything like that will be linked down below as well. And I thank y'all so much for watching. The lengths that I do have is 12, 12, and 14 with a 10-inch lace closure because I do plan on making a bob. And I will talk to y'all in my next video.